It's great to be here in Vancouver. It's one of my favorite places on planet Earth, frankly, and it's a delight to be here with a bunch of growth hackers and people seeking to build a tech future and other things that I'm so excited about. I want to spend just a few minutes with you talking about my experience on growth and a few thoughts about how to build growth into the very DNA of your companies as you grow and as you found and as you build and you scale, and maybe a few ideas to think about. Something we know a little bit about. My journey at Marketo has been quite exciting from hanging on for dear life with growth. We went kind of through in recurring revenue kind of 0 and 4 million and 15 million and 40 million and 90 million and 150, and continuing to try to grow the business at that pace with just a relentless focus on how do we be bigger every month and every quarter and every year. And it's something that I think we've been able to translate to a number of our customers. I don't know if you ever know that JMP Securities does this Hot 100 list of the top hottest private tech companies in the world, and we're proud. And our company serves about 2/3 of them as one of their growth engines, and we think it's a very great kind of pride that we can help companies grow at a natural pace. As we think about every company's hope to grow and what it takes to be able to grow a business, I think often it gets thought of as how do you bring customers in the door and how do you get growth going by figuring out how to sell and then sell more and sell more. And that's important. But as you really think about the recipe for sustainable growth in a technology company or really any company today, I think the recipe really has 3 critical parts. You have to be relentless at finding eyeballs, at bringing people in the door, and understanding how to sell your product to more and more people. But if you don't think from the very beginning about life cycle growth, about how do you continue to retain customers if you have a business that has a renewal function, or the ability to continue to bring and activate people from freemium customers to paid customers, you need to be thinking from the very beginning about what your lifetime growth profile of a customer is. You don't have to get every penny on day one, but you have to be relentless about how you grow that customer. And then today, in today's social media powered world, in a world where transparency and information is available to all of your customers, it becomes every bit as critical not just to think about the economics of growth, but the economics of advocacy, brand support, having your customers have your back as you grow. And we'll talk about all of those functions in just a little more detail here over the next few minutes. First, about how do you bring customers in the door? And this is certainly what we do at Marketo as a digital marketing company, is we don't think about how do you start with advertising. In today's world, there's reliable statistics that say each of us are exposed to almost 3,000 advertising messages trying to break through, get our precious attention that we don't want to give. We see billboards, we see just information everywhere. It's too much. People are rejecting these ideas. You see click-through rates on display ads, for example, going down, CPM rates going down because of lack of effectiveness. And all of this is translating into the digital realm as advertising is not working anymore. And so one of the things we do at Marketo, and I think is a critical secret, if you will, or recipe for growth, is to stop thinking about how to build access to customers by advertising or by selling, but realizing that the customers are doing their own thing. They're building their own journey. They're guiding their own purchase. They don't want to talk to you. They don't want to spend any time being sold to until they've already decided to build a relationship with you. And so what you need to do in return is think about how is your business building personal relationships with your customers. How do you not try to win a customer over all at once, but you win them over a little bit at a time? And we all know how to do this. You all know how to do this. Every one of us out here has built friendships, has built romantic relationships, has gotten to know people. We know as human beings how to build relationships with each other. We have to listen as much as we talk. We give of ourselves as we ask questions and get to know the other person. This is essential to be modeled in our business to achieve growth, because you need to find customers that want to be your customer as opposed to ones that you go and tell them that they have to be your customer. And by using this model and thinking at each step of the way, how do you build a relationship with your customer, you can win. So an example of this, to pick an example. You know, we look at a beach, and we all think about what a beach might mean to us. But really, if you think about different personas or different people thinking about that beach, they see very different things. One might be thinking about party time, right? It's spring break. How do I go and find a place that is the party zone? Somebody else might have new kids. They want a safe spot for their kids. And a third couple might be thinking about how to have the luxury vacation of a lifetime. It is possible now, in building a website, in building a mobile presence, in building an online presence, a social media presence, to start to think about creating relationships with these people on their own terms, speaking to them in a totally dynamically customized website that speaks to them about their interests, that learns with big data and predictive analytics what is the right presentation of a story for these people. But it's not just the storyline, it's how do you communicate with people. You need to build into the way you talk to customers an infrastructure that lets you speak to some people on mobile only, because that's the only place they're going to talk to you. So mobile push and in-app kinds of capabilities. Other people still live in a world of email, and some people still want to be on the phone. And it's possible today for software to detect and understand how people want to be communicated with and to adaptively speak to them in the way they want to be spoken to. And to think about customer journeys over time. If you're even at the earliest stages of your company, you should be thinking about what's next and how do you grow and what's the next thing you want to offer people. How do you get them to come back and how do you get them to renew? And we literally have customers at Marketo now that are designing not just week-long or month-long or year-long sales cycles, but literally what's a customer relationship look like for 3, 5, or 10, or 15 years as they're building their business. And that lets them then, each step of the way, plant a seed to continue to drive growth at every stage of that customer journey. But as I said at the beginning, one of the most important areas to drive growth is not just to think about how to sell more to people, but how to basically get wind to your back or sales to your back. One of the most important ideas that we had at Marketo was that my mentor and my biggest coach as my executive career said to me, Phil, you know, people are either rowing with you or they're rowing against you. Your customers, people in the marketplace, your entire customer community either wants you to succeed or they don't really care if you succeed, and you got to be sure they want you to succeed. So you need to think about how to create a shared purpose with all of the stakeholders and ecosystems that exist in your world. How do you think about moving from a world where you're trying to target each individual to where you're trying to activate your entire customer base to be your friends? And frankly, the dirty little secret for all of us that are technologists and software people and product designers like I am is that competitive advantage through product advantage is fleeting. It is fleeting so fast that it's not even funny. A competitor can copy you. They can be on top of your messages. You can't win in a world by trying to outcompete on product alone. You have to win and you have to grow in the world by having people rowing with you in your direction. You need to build a shared purpose. You need to build a community. So at Marketo, we have something we call the Marketing Nation. It is rabid. People love to wear purple as our color. They wear badges on LinkedIn, on their sleeves, if you will, and it's a point of pride. There's 50,000 people that come together in our community. We have intensive focus on gamification around advocates, people that communicate and spread our brand in social media. And this is essential because buyers today are going to places like Spiceworks if they're buying IT products, or they're going to G2 Crowd, or they're going to Trust Radius, or these new crowdsourced information sources to figure out about what products they're going to buy. And if you're not activating your entire customer base to be advocates for you and conscious of building their shared interest in your success, you can't grow today. So this focus on how do you activate your customers to be your best advocates, you have to pay attention to every time. So we look at a company like New Relic, a company that recently went public, multi-billion-dollar valuation today, that grew up with Marketo in this entire world, but they have this notion of their data nerds, and they've leaned right into who are their customers, what do they need to know, how do they bring them together, how do they send them t-shirts, they bring them together in various kinds of city conferences to be almost revival kinds of things. Rather than product discussions, they're people discussions about being one of these data nerds, is building better websites through using New Relic software. And by having that kind of advocacy, they see more than 30% of their new customer growth comes from customer referred deals because their base wants them to succeed as much as they do. And then you need to have just a relentless focus on scale. Now, as the CEO of a public, billion-dollar plus market cap company, 1,000 employees in the company, my job basically consists of one thing, which is spending time thinking about how do we just stay ahead of scale. So when I talk about scale, I mean lots of different things. I mean scale of the human talent in the company. Companies can grow faster than people can grow. So you always have to be thinking about who the next executive is, where the next source of leadership comes in your company. How do you have more leaders around the table? When cash is thin, that can be scary, to spend cash on another expensive leader. You have to do it to scale. Eyeballs matter. No matter what you do, you have to be thinking about how do you get bigger and bigger reach. In Marketo, I talked about our growth curve at the beginning, and it was all about thinking about how do we get to scale from day one. So my co-founder was focused on building a list of names, a database, a marketing database, and by the time we were ready with our product, about 8 months, 9 months after we took our first funding, he had literally built a database of 15,000 people. It's now a database of about 10 million people, but 15,000 people that had expressed interest in buying from us, that had already signed on to be our friends in this idea of shared purpose, even though we didn't have a product. And the day we had a product, we had 15,000 people ready to buy from us. Now, we sold 5 that first week, but that kind of funnel of realizing that you need to be thinking about how to get in front of that many eyes as you even start to think about selling just a few copies of your product, and the scale of scaling up your projection of your voice to market becomes incredibly critical. Whoops, I don't know what just happened there, but I'm right at the end of my talk. But the basic notion is, scale matters and velocity and volume matters in today's game. So we have, for example, a customer at Under Armour called MyFitnessPal that maybe I'll get up here and you'll see somebody running anyway. That is an example of this kind of extreme scale. They have been on a relentless drive as a mobile app, becoming the best health and fitness app, the most used health and fitness app on the Apple App Store, and the most attended food destination site with almost 70 million unique visitors a month looking at their food. And they've done that by this relentless focus on building relationships with their consumers, activating them, using marketing automation technology like we and others supply in the marketplace, and driving people to engage and continue to re-engage. So they were able to have a tremendous exit bought by Under Armour, the sports apparel company, for $1 billion plus kind of exit by being able to scale up at this incredibly intense rate and being able to engage their customers, build relationships, and build shared purpose at tremendous scale, only with a 6-person marketing team driving customer engagement with 80 million customers because of the kinds of scale that today's marketing automation technologies can provide. So think about each of these things. Think about that entire customer life cycle. Don't forget that you can't win on product alone. You have to win by activating your customer base across your shared purpose. And if you're thinking about anything, even when you're building a product and even when you're getting started, worry about every dimension of what scale means, because I guarantee you, if you catch fire, it's going to be the single biggest thing you have to do is try to just keep up with growth in your business. Hopefully those are a few clues about how to scale, and I hope you all enjoyed the day at Traction. Again, thank you for having me, and thank you for the chance to be here in Vancouver.